Hi everyone. Hi. Good. I think there's obviously there's a bit of a delay, so it's kind of weird for me to ask something and then have to wait like a minute. Okay. Hi everyone. How's it going? So thanks first of all for joining this stream. Like I say, I wanted to soft launch this, just as it's such a new thing for me to get comfortable with, and there's kind of I've been thinking about this for the last few months and trying to think of the best way to kind of get these ideas across or to deliver the things I wanted to do. So it seemed like to me the best thing was to kind of do what I always intended to do, which was to involve you guys kind of from the outset, and kind of maybe if before I kind of start answering questions, maybe if I kind of explain what this is for me and what I hope it could be, and then kind of hopefully get round to answering any of your questions about that. So when this really kind of come around from the band, and kind of the whole time I was in the band, I was, sitting in my own little kind of dark corners, working on things and kind of working on obviously the music and the production and obviously all the videos and artwork that we did. And the whole time I thought, well, this is all stuff that I would be really interested in, and it's the thing that, I look for on the internet and the things I search for and Google for, and I love finding behind the scenes and the way albums were made and records were made. For me, that's that's the most kind of fascinating thing about recording music, and I learn so much, and I still have done that, since I was 14 up until now. But with the band, there was just really no time to do that, and with my best intentions, it never quite materialized. But now I kind of find myself with a little more time, and obviously now I'm working on a lot more of a broader spectrum of projects, and so it's kind of reinforced all these things that I do that I think people may find interesting. Something I find interesting, and wanting to share those things with other people. So I've kind of been balancing exactly what I could do with the Patreon and kind of the best way to approach it. For me, I certainly need to keep my time free in between the Patreon. That's something that I became very aware of being in the band, is that all of my time was on the band, and it became unrealistic to continue it and keep a normal, healthy life. So also I'm kind of obviously actively working on these projects that I'm trying to show you. So I kind of this is why I'm leaning towards the live stream idea. And again, I think if it doesn't work out, then I would change that. But I think there's an avenue where, for me, for example, one of my pet peeves is watching a video or watching a demonstration and really wanting to see it being used how I would use it. If I'm looking for a pedal or a guitar or anything, I find it's actually really hard to find someone using that instrument how you would use it. And so it's hard to know if it's applicable to you or not. And so on one example, for me, the idea that I could potentially do maybe like an hour stream on a particular topic, and then try and orchestrate a video almost, to that hour maybe, with the idea being that you could interject in this video and ask me questions and ask me how things are working. And if I'm not explaining something clearly, then you can say that and we can have that dialogue. And then as much as, I'm really excited by the idea of producing, long videos, that is really time consuming. And I know that my brain is wired to sort of fuss over that kind of stuff. So as kind of anxiety ridden as this makes me, it's a bit more freeing because it's a bit more instant. And so I'm going to try and chase that outcome. And maybe, I think as well, trying to see what works on the channel and kind of what works with these ideas is kind of why I'm soft launching this, as it's for me to kind of get comfortable with you guys kind of over my shoulder, and also for me to be aware of you guys and considerate maybe, so that things aren't getting boring, or I could tune a kick drum for many hours, and so I think for the next month my idea is that I would maybe kind of more or less nearly every day, I would like to do an hour of different content, and basically try and orchestrate a kind of an hour of stream, and kind of then see maybe how that falls with you guys and get feedback from you. And the idea is that with the Patreon, I can kind of have a bit more of an immediate interaction with you all, and try and get, feedback on things. And again, just the kind of content that I'm doing, what is boring to you and what's exciting to you, because I can watch paint dry, that doesn't bother me, but for everyone else it might get quite boring. So maybe it seemed like the best idea to kind of get over this bump in the road, and for me to get comfortable and not ramble too much. It would be maybe to kind of sound it out with you guys. And so I thought this could be a really good medium to do that. And then also I'm kind of at a juncture where like I've upgraded my entire system. So it's now super fast and I can run all the audio and everything at the same time and stream all from one machine. I can screen share and stuff like this. But I'm kind of at the juncture where I need to decide what to invest in, whether I would be investing in more DSLRs and this kind of thing for orchestrating videos, or maybe I need something that's kind of more camcorder based for streaming and stuff. And I can't seem to decide between the two. I want the quality, and I can understand the frustration of people, when I want to find something out on the internet, the preamble like this is not what I want. I just want to find the answer. So again, I'm trying to think of ways around this and potentially do the live stream and then go through and maybe do timestamps and this sort of way, and work with you guys to kind of, for it to be, useful for you as a reference. And again, I kind of like the idea of it being maybe an hour because it keeps it succinct, and I can kind of spend the day planning something out, shoot it for the hour, and then that's kind of my responsibility done, and I can carry on working. So in that way, in my mind, it keeps me free and keeps me working, but doesn't take up, all of my day, all of my week, but it also means I can do it more often, and kind of hopefully attempt more varied content as well. For example, maybe I should move on to kind of some of the things I was hoping to do, and certainly like this month, like for example, to go way back to the band and all the things I wanted to do there. Like there is so many pedals and tricks that I was doing and still do that I thought was really cool. So I would really wanted to, like, for example, maybe I would do a stream where I would just concentrate on like one pedal, an hour on that pedal, and we could kind of go through it together. And again, in the way that, you can interject and say, oh, cool, what is it like with this? Or I could maybe swap the amp, or, what is it like with this kind of amp, etc. What is it like with this kind of guitar? I thought that could be a really cool thing to kind of show you something that I really like and the way I use it, and then also kind of demonstrate the other parts of it, and kind of, again, things maybe that I hadn't considered within that, and also like different uses. Obviously, I like using my gear in so many different ways, and whether that's with the synths or the piano or in the production or my guitar or my vocals. I really liked that idea of kind of demonstrating gear to you guys. I had the idea for doing a series which would be like why I love something, which is kind of in part a tuition, but also kind of just showing you the way I use something. I think certainly there's, I think something maybe that I'm in a good position to do is maybe show people who are kind of dipping their toes into production and, synths and Eurorack and all this side of things that maybe have a kind of phobia of it or starting out, or maybe even unsure how it would apply to a band context. That maybe I would then show that, and I could showcase individual things and how I apply them to the way I work, and maybe sort of maybe even break it down into, for example, making certain aspects, making kick drums, making snares, making certain kinds of atmospheric synths and stuff like this. I thought that could be a really nice thing to share. I wanted to do something where maybe you, the audience, would challenge me in a way. We could maybe kind of take on new ideas together. There's a lot of techniques and songwriting techniques that I'm really enjoying at the moment and wanting to use more. And I thought it would be nice to kind of share that together and maybe look at different ways of approaching songwriting in ways, even for myself, like the idea of, I've got my good friends, they're kind of making music in a completely opposite way to me, and I'm finding that really interesting and trying to find new approaches, and I thought that could be a really nice thing and something we could try together. Again, like the idea of kind of making music, from samples, making music, in more mathematical senses, and all these kinds of different approaches to songwriting I thought could be really, really nice. And again, maybe stuff on how I do songwriting from start to finish. And kind of the idea being that, I kind of keep it varied, and that keeps my interest in it and hopefully your interest in it. But this month, maybe I was thinking of starting to try out some of these ideas almost daily, and then sort of get your feedback. And again, I think for myself, I'll start to learn what works and what doesn't. Like I say, I'm currently waiting. I don't want to sound like Jack Black, but I need to wait for an Elgato so that I can start using more than one camera. So I can have a close-up cam as well. So the idea being that beforehand I can have everything set up, and then I can just orchestrate it on OBS, and basically kind of as if I was kind of live orchestrating a video for you guys. So that's kind of the idea. I obviously was wanting to maybe do stuff where I'm just working on ideas and I get to kind of show you these ideas before they come out. The Patreon as it is at the moment is a kind of setup for, I've kind of kept it very minimal and not promising too much. I have got some other options where, for example, in these streams, what I would do is I would then provide the stems and samples of maybe anything that we made. I mean, sometimes I certainly would like to just make a song and play it for you guys. I like the idea of doing live things. And even just sometimes I'm kind of trapped in a position where, like, to do a song, I have to release it. And I write a lot of songs, maybe a song a day even. And I like the idea of just being able to play that song for you and it not be a commitment or a release or anything. And it's just a nice thing. And then I can maybe show you how I did that. And certainly any projects I'm involved in, I would like to sort of do a lot more behind the scenes. And, maybe when these projects come out, maybe the end of the year, next year, but then, I'd like to think that you would have seen these songs being made from the outset. And I think that could be really cool, and kind of sharing that with you guys, as well as kind of my life here. I'd like to kind of try and do some other things. Maybe I would do some videos or films of my life here in Iceland. As I think that's been, interesting, and you can point in a camera in any direction and it kind of looks good. So that's kind of, I'm going to try and stop rambling and address you a bit more. I will put oil on this squeaky chair. That's the next thing. And The next video is going to go up tomorrow, but it'd be interesting to hear what you guys would like it to be about so I can plan it. And like I say, I'll probably do an hour. I think it's probably easier for me to do this kind of thing around the afternoon, but I'm aware that some people aren't available until after work. But obviously this would be up. It would be Patreon only. You could watch it, catch up whenever you like. And what I would try and do is maybe have a after work kind of hover over the video and answer any questions if people aren't, say watching it at a later date. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. And I'm going to kind of try out stuff this month and try and get more comfortable. And I'm trying to kind of get up to speed. I'm not the best person in front of a camera, and I like to get better at that. Not ramble. I've done that too much already, and I talk really fast, so I apologize. Sorry. But I'm hoping to kind of use a month to kind of speed through this. Okay. Well, if you have any questions, do you want to ask me them? And I've got a screen set up here so I can see what you have said. I mean, it sounds like there's some really cool people doing cool things. Maybe I should have not made this public. I don't know. Hi, Anne. I think DSLRs aren't that great for streaming in contrast, and a regular webcam. Yeah, that's what I'm using right now. Just a little Pro Stream. I was debating. I actually was pretty happy with the quality. I do have DSLRs, but yes, they aren't very good for streaming, and so I was hoping to, like I said, maybe look at getting something that's a bit more stream appropriate, like a camcorder or whatever. It just depends which route we go down. Like I said, if the streaming thing isn't really working out and it's not achieving what I want it to do, then obviously I would look to maybe doing videos. But the idea being that streaming is theoretically a bit shorter for me, even though I need to kind of do a bit of preparation. I like the idea that it's fairly instant, and I feel like I could provide a decent quality as it is at the moment. Cool. Yeah, if you have any more questions. Polls, sorry, Anne. Yes, I will probably do that in the Patreon. And again, the idea is that I can kind of be a bit more active and kind of involved. And a question I had was, it does offer like roles on a Reddit or a Discord chat. I haven't really used either of them, but I think that could be cool. But I wasn't sure on people's feelings about it, honestly. Whether that would be something where we could share things and kind of talk about the things, and maybe, you know, if there was particular, for each stream, I would maybe could put up a chat in them, and then say, you know, sort of get your feedback on them and kind of how you felt about what I was doing, and maybe stuff I could improve on. And obviously we can share things and ideas and hopefully learning. And I'd like to do, you know, a lot of guitar based things would be, I'd really like to kind of try and have some more interactive videos on that side of things, or streams, where I find it really hard to find the content that I want for learning the guitar. And certainly there's still stuff that I'm learning all the time, and so I like the idea of kind of forcing myself by making the video. I kind of have to learn those elements, and certainly, you know, being in a band, I ended up diverting my guitar playing to being myself in that band, rather than continuing to particularly, you know, learn, you know, and kind of, you know, really officially practice my modes and what have you. So I would like to do some kind of learning with, and maybe we would do some kind of streams that were kind of maybe based on a particular guitar technique, or like a theory or a chord progression, or even just examples. I think could be really beneficial. Wow, there's loads. Okay, right. Sorry, I'm coming in. Are you working solo, or are you also collaborating with other musicians in Iceland? And I'm doing a bit of both. I'm a little reluctant to go solo. That was never really anything I wanted inside or outside of the band. I'm working on a few new projects with other people, and the idea that mainly this change is me to work more with other people. I've worked with the same people for a very long time. And that stopped me from working with other people and learning and kind of trying to be better and have experience of working with other people. So I'm really enjoying, I'm doing some songwriting with a few people, and that's been something I've really wanted to do. And again, it's as much an experience for me learning from other people and how they write songs and kind of, and even just sort of learning those relationships and how to, how best to do that. It's fun. It's kind of working with a different person all the time. So I've really, really enjoyed that. As well as, the Agent Fresco guys have been really, really lovely here and really helped me settle in here. I cannot thank them enough. They're absolute sweethearts and an incredible band. If you aren't aware of them, they've just released they've just made public their last album, Destria, live in Reykjavik, and it's amazing. Certainly if you like Arkenrich, you'd love it. And their new album is sounding amazing. So that will be really, really good. I'm excited to help with that. Whoa, more questions. How about some sessions where we send you unfinished ideas in Ableton and whatever? Sure, Adam, that sounds like a cool idea. I'm really up for anything where certainly this idea of kind of I think it's a really good excuse to flip the way that you normally work. I've had some really good experiences already with even working with friends and realizing that even though we more or less achieve the same outcomes, we work entirely differently, and that has completely changed the way I work. So that's something I would really, really like to do. And I love the way that we can kind of chuck sessions around together. That's super cool. So yes, that is a really cool idea. I would love to do that. Not on the topic of Patreon, but are you planning on touring any solo material you release? The idea is that if I made anything myself, I'd probably release it through here. And actually one of the tiers I was going to make when I kind of get up and running and know really what I'm doing and how much time I have would be that I would create a tier where I would basically give that music away for free. And obviously the idea with the tiers already is that any music that I make on here, if I just make a song for the sake of it, if you're part of the kind of higher tiers, then you get that for free. And then I was going to release another one where I would give you all of the stems and the tracks. And something I'd really like to do is build, for example, like where I'm making, I pride myself on making everything from scratch. So I thought it would be really cool that, again, I could maybe make sample packs, software instruments to go along with it. Again, I thought that would be good. But I'm kind of holding off on promising that stuff until this is up and running. And I feel like I'm in a good rhythm, and I want to kind of walk before I can run as such. Discord sounds like a great option for everyone to share. That sounds cool. Richard, yeah, that's great. Oh, there's loads. Okay, right. Would love to see your songwriting process from scratch, taking a motif idea and fleshing it out into a full song, recording it and mixing it, maybe split across multiple streams. Yes. That's something, I would like to do very frequently. I definitely I like the idea. And maybe I would potentially do, and again, it kind of depends on you guys, really. I suppose I don't really mind starting a project from complete scratch, which I sort of did on some of the test streams. I just am aware that usually at the time I'll be streaming, most people are at work, and it could probably get boring. I am very pedantic, and it doesn't. And so it would be just a case of maybe I would try and kind of come up with or have an idea and show you, break it down maybe, or find ways to make it a bit more engaging. I really, it doesn't bother me at all. If everyone really wanted that, then I'd be more than happy that, for example, leave the stream on while I'm working and then kind of jump in and out. That would be something I would be more than happy to do. It just kind of, again, looking for your feedback on what you think works, or if it's boring or whatever. Big yes to stems, underused avenue from the industry. you're completely right. That's something all the bands that we liked and everything that I really love. I thought Nine Inch Nails did an amazing job of it. Was when they would release all their stems. We did that for Melancholia Hymns. That was something I was really passionate about, doing the USBs and the kind of high quality version. Again, I don't spend all that money working on something and then no one releases the uncompressed version of it. So yeah, it's pretty good. Like for electronic music, it's great. You can normally find, the WAV version at least. But yeah, for traditional kind of rock music, yeah, it's really quite hard to find the kind of full version. So I would like to do that wherever possible. Well, I will just give you the I would just give you the project, bounce of the project. That's good. It's good to hear people are keen on the Discord. So yeah, Patreon is kind of offering basically like roles and stuff. So that's glad I will implement that immediately then. And then, yeah, I like the idea that becomes a nice way for Patreons to kind of speak together. Again, honestly, the one thing I loved about Arcane Roots was seeing the relationships between people and kind of fans becoming friends and stuff like this. Kind of, it was being the band, we would kind of see this stuff from afar, and it's been nice to see these little relationships. So I love the idea that, for a more educational lesson, it would be great for people to share things and ideas. And again, like people suggesting things I could try, and certainly I'd like to do streams where, maybe we kind of ramp up to them in the week and suggest, maybe you guys suggest maybe ideas that I do. Maybe we could have, I don't know, if I break after this month, I would maybe break the streams down into series and kind of, it would be fun to maybe come up with a challenge, or maybe I could challenge you guys. I love seeing when you guys, cover songs that we've done, or you send me ideas, and that was kind of nice about doing some of the streams before. So I would really like that. I think that would be an awesome idea. How long until the release of the PNC tabs? That's what I've been doing this week. So probably as soon as possible. I'd like to say today is Thursday, maybe next week, if I get it together. It's been nice. I've been really enjoying doing the tabs. I'm glad everyone's enjoyed them. It's been nice to look back and obviously kind of remember the songs, and I like writing a little bit afterwards. It's kind of hopefully that's something you guys like, and it's been nice to kind of provide information that obviously kind of wasn't obviously available, and nice to look back as well. It's been interesting. Some songs that we haven't played in a while, been interesting to remember chords and how I play them. And even, how my guitar playing has evolved and the records have evolved. They're soon, basically. 2 weeks for the tab book. Yeah, you betcha. Have you ever looked into scoring film, TV, 1 hour session where you score a scene? Super cool. Adam, you're the ideas guy. Yeah, have you ever? Yes, I would love to. Again, a huge part of this move was trying to take on projects like this. I have a few friends in film, and they were always kind of inquiring, but I was never quite available. So 100%, I would love to do that. And that is a super cool idea. That would be really, really, really fun to do. I would very much like that. Why not making Guitar Pro tabs, by the way? I don't remember why at the time when I started doing them. For some reason, I don't remember why. Maybe it wasn't compatible. Is Guitar Pro compatible with Mac? I'm not sure. There was a reason why. A Muse score, I downloaded it and it was really good. I would absolutely... I've got no issues. I don't know. Do you have to pay for Guitar Pro? I'm not sure. But obviously, I've got all the files. So I would be more than happy to work out a way of doing that. I could even do it for the Patreon. That I wouldn't be opposed to. So I've got all the files, and it's same. MuseScore is free. Anyone can download it. I actually really like the program. I enjoy using it, and I'd like to use it more. Again, it was something I was thinking about potentially as things went on. Maybe if I'd made a song, I would score it out for you guys, etc., etc. I thought that could be a really nice additional thing to offer. And yeah, basically, I don't know why. There was a reason, but I would be more than happy. I was thinking about this actually while I was doing Sacred Shapes. There was just some funny little rhythms, and I was like, oh, if I was a beginner, I would. Oh, I think anyone looking at the score entirely, it's quite a lot of funny rests. So I did have this in my mind that maybe it would be better to provide an oral version. Is there any more questions? I'm going to drink some lovely juice. Alexandra. Yes, it is a paid. Oh, okay. Well, that's why then. I didn't intend that, but now it means that I can just give people those files for free, and they don't have to buy software. And so yeah. So let me know if that's something everyone would be interested in, and I'll work out a way that people who've already got the tabs can get that. I don't mind offering that for free, but obviously it's not fair if people haven't bought the tabs. So I don't know. I'll try and work out a mechanism where that works out in some way. Beatles or Stones? I had feeling the other day that I was talking to friends, and we were saying it's amazing how there's so many classic artists where I am so familiar with their work, but I realised I hadn't really sat down and listened to an album. And so I ended up a long time ago getting a huge amount of like unreleased Jimi Hendrix records, and realising that like, even though I knew all the songs individually, I'd never actually sat down and listened to them as albums. And when I first got into Jimi Hendrix, I got them on it was like a best of CD that I would practice along to. And and that's been a completely different thing. And it's actually the same for the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. I'm very familiar with their work. I'm definitely more of a Beatles guy. There's that particular kind of White Album time, and actually the kind of music they made before they split. That was a really exciting time. I loved the the atmosphere around that, and the idea of working in the studio and pushing the studio limits and this kind of creative hive. That was really interesting to me. Guitar Pro would be great, as you can add a backing track as well. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll after this I'll see if there is a way of doing that for MuseScore. Backing track could be harder, as I don't think, other than with Melancholia Hymns, I don't think, unless I pester Chris, that there is guitarless versions of those. So that would be, maybe I'd have to work that out and plead with him. Also, and I suppose just as a side note as well, I'm working with Chris now as a production duo. We're still kind of finding our feet a little bit, but certainly after working together for so long, it just made so much sense. And he's just, in my opinion, the best producer in the world, and I love working with him. So it was kind of this idea that we could apply this to other bands, and that seemed really exciting. And I'm going to sneeze in about 2 seconds. Phew. and that we stream live, that we could produce other bands. So certainly, if that was something that you are interested in, you can get in touch with us via Chris's Decimal Studio site. The idea being that we can, I think it's really hard to actually sort of growing up doing this. The experience that we thought we would have in the studio was kind of really not what actually happens. And the idea that kind of someone really spending the time on what you do and kind of really producing it and doing pre-production, like budgetary and, time kind of constraints obviously massively affect that. And so we wanted to do something where we could kind of, really work with artists that we're really excited about, but like really, push them and really kind of try and, rather than just kind of churn out recordings for money, this idea being that we could kind of really like make something great with them and kind of I could really work with them, on songwriting and production and we could really turn their ideas into something really special. So yeah, I'm super excited, and it means I'll be back in the UK here and there doing that. So again, yeah, if that's something you guys are interested in, or you're in a band or whatever, then get in touch with Chris and we can work something out. There's more. How do you think the music industry needs to protect creatives to prevent music apps forcing everyone to listen to the same pop music? It's a tough one at the moment, isn't it? With Spotify, I think I've been fairly public about my feelings towards it. Like it is sort of stealing willingly, and if it was up to me and I was king, I would make. I mean, it's the end of the day, it's someone's work, and no one really has a right to listen to it. So you should pay for it, and you should pay for it fairly. And obviously that's why kind of without going too much into it, obviously that's why the Patreon thing is kind of a good model. And I wondered maybe whether bands will go towards that more. I think it's a product, and it's really damaging to kind of devalue it because people become very normalized to that. I think the best analogy I've got is that, like, if for example everyone was suddenly like, oh, we need to raise the price of milk because actually for all these years we've been criminally underpaying farmers for their work and they're all going under, and then we it's reducing the standards. Probably is, to be fair. And 4 pints of milk became £5, everyone would be up in arms and kind of but that's incorrect. And phone companies did it with with data, and kind of, I remember when everyone had unlimited data, and then kind of the iPhone really took hold, and the phone companies kind of wheeled it back, realizing that it costs a bit more than that. And I think that needs to happen with music. I think it's gonna kill. There's without a shadow of a doubt. If music paid better, then Arcane Roots would still be going, most certainly, and a lot more bands. Every article about bands that should have, would have, could have, they would still be going too, I'm sure. Money does help everything and keep everyone happy and alive and sane. I think it's nice, but it's a product, and you should pay for it like you do anything else. To answer your question, I think it is a case of to argue for Spotify. It is great, and I very honestly don't use it because I would like it so much, and I know I would. It would help me listen to a lot more music that I normally wouldn't listen to. There is so many incredible artists out there, and certainly moving to Iceland, I actually am going to so many gigs here and really enjoying live music and really getting inspired. And and that is something that Spotify is great for, recommending new artists and having instant access to that music. That is a good idea, but I think it's just, and you know, they've done great to get people paying for it as it is. I understand that point of view. It needs to be a lot more, and artists need to be seeing a fair share. And unfortunately now, with the company being so big, that you're kind of, you know, even if you wanted to, you'd be silly to, you know, Arcane Roots would be silly to take their music off of that. We can't really move either way, so it's a tough situation. If I want to learn the synth, where should I start? I really love how Arcane Roots evolve and new ambient patches. Hi Hector. Yes. There is, depending on what kind of synth, there are lots of free synths. You can buy them as VST. You can download them as VSTs. I know there is a modular synth. I've forgotten it. I've forgotten what it's called. Hopefully someone will jump in. If not, I will type it in when I remember it. But there is like a free modular synth, like browser-based kind of program. I think it's mainly being hands-on. Like if you can find a physical one, even you know, like the Arturia, like microbrutes, and there's lots of kind of small factor synths that are really cheap and sound great. For me, it was really a great change in my approach to music and understanding music better and understanding it more as an elemental thing. Certainly the idea of kind of you know, envelopes and the kind of the real kind of creation of sound, and kind of harmonics and the way, you know, you're kind of combining frequencies and what that does, and the cancellation of frequencies and phasing and all this kinds of things. It's a lot. Learning that is a great way to see the physicality and the physics of sound, and it really changed the way I thought about then approaching, you know, like playing the guitar, and the way I got sounds on my guitar, and the way, you know, like recording a kick drum. You know, it completely changed the way I thought about sound, and I really, really encourage it. I think it's a fantastic way to, anyone would benefit from it. I think it really does. It changed the way you approach music. So yeah, I've forgotten VCV Rack. Yes, there you go, Hector. It's VCV Rack. Thank you, Alexandra. Yeah, that's free. You can get in, I think, Mutable Instruments and Noise Engineering and a few others. They all have their modules on there for free, I think. And I think it comes with like a starter thing, which has some dope for modules. But it's a great way to learn. And I would just start, you know, building patches and understanding what things do. And there's plenty for reading. And again, that's kind of something I want to do on the Patreon is maybe do some real basics, as in how to make a kick drum, you know, what this does, what oscillators do, what filters do, etc., etc. I thought that would be a really good, you know, educational content to do. Video on songwriting about music theory versus what sounds right. Absolutely. That's the biggest kind of struggle I think there is kind of, I find they're two very different parts of your brain, or my brain anyway. You know, one what you should do, and the other one that is your ears, I suppose, sort of telling you what is good. I think it's always about a combination of both, and kind of a basis and a foundation of understanding, and then kind of trying to break those rules. Again, yeah, that's a great idea, and something I'd really like to do, certainly for songwriting. And again, that was very much the way I approached so much of Arcane Roots, and also a symptom of that as well, in that another video I want to do is kind of, I ended up following my own path for so long that actually now I kind of feel like I need to kind of have a bit more traditional path, and you know, and listening to, you know, Ariel Posen and, you know, Pete Honore and Rabir and all those kinds of people, you know, listening to their influences and the way they play. That's kind of, and obviously, you know, Mick from That Pedal Show and Dan, like their playing's incredible, and I love listening to that playing, and it's kind of I've really been enjoying that recently. So again, I'd like to get back to doing that and maybe doing some kind of brushing up episodes. What about once in a while analysing a song? That's cool. Yes. Sorry, I just had a brain blip. I would like to do that a lot. I know on YouTube that can be problematic. For example, some of the streams I've done already have been claimed for some random songs. So, and that was me just messing around with my synths. So get out of it. But yeah, with the Patreon, I wouldn't be monetizing the YouTube. So yeah, that would be something I would like to do. Maybe even songs that I really liked and yeah, it'd be just as far as I can think of, there's no mechanism that would kind of stop that if I'm not claiming or making any money off that video, or I'm not monetizing it. Maybe people might shout. Some bits on lyric writing would be useful as well. They're probably a bit less exciting as streams go. Yes. Again, I think it just. I'm more than happy to try anything really, and again, it comes down to feedback, I suppose. And at the moment, I'm trying to be aware of the audience and kind of like shape something that I kind of I know works, and then build from there and kind of try and be a little more confident and a little more savvy and try and get everything as clean as possible. I'd really like to try and get the streams to feel as if they were like a video almost. Thoughts on doing a solo electronic synth release? Have you listened to John Frusciante's Trick Finger? Yes, I am an enormous John Frusciante fan. I started falling off a little bit, a tiny bit, I'll be honest. I do have the records. I kind of buy them fairly blindly, but I did start to struggle a little bit and kind of want like more song out of it. But then at the same time, I often find, certainly with people like John Frusciante and Omar Rodriguez, that's usually just my tastes and a reflection on my taste at the time. And at some point, I usually will then go back and listen to those records and then love them. But something I would like to do is, again, to do more pieces. There's a lot of times where I, certainly when I'm practicing, I'm just improvising, and I loved certainly the John Frusciante and Omar Rodriguez records they did together in improvisations. I loved doing something like that. And again, I love the idea with all this equipment and putting those together. That would be super cool. And again, this idea of combining guitar with electronic music and the kind of the possibilities that provides, and certainly I'm loving playing the guitar so much at the moment, and it's not here right now, but my Victories and my 2-note studio I think are just incredible. For practicing at home and actually getting a great guitar tone, I absolutely love it. So I'm super excited to get involved with that, but the Fresco guys are bollering that at the moment. VC, how can I get one of those Melancholy Hymns USBs with all the stems? You know what? They're in my house. That's why. We do have a box of Melancholy Hymns USBs. I basically I need to decide what to do with them. They're all blank, so I'd need to upload them. I've toyed with the idea of maybe putting some new stuff on there that kind of, things that we had sort of lying around since, like an updated version. I don't know the kind of how that would impact the label. I'd have to kind of open that box and talk to them again. But there is a box of about 100, I think, back in England. And yeah, I'm waiting for them to be flown out. But yeah, when I make a decision, then maybe I'll do them and put them out. Fingers crossed. Sad to hear that Arcane Roots wouldn't still be there if it paid off a bit. Don't you think that a direct financing venture would be a viable option for a band? I do, yeah. I mean, don't get me, that wasn't the only option. That wasn't the only reason even. And certainly the idea being that, to be honest, it was, for me, rightly or wrongly, if we're not doing what I think, so I don't mind, maybe let me rephrase. I don't mind suffering for something, and I don't mind having to, I don't mind it taking all my time. Music takes all my time anyway. But for me, I felt like I wasn't achieving, or we wasn't achieving the height of the ideas that we wanted to do, as in, my English is failing me. The things I wanted to achieve in that band, I just, my English is terrible. Let me start again. There were things that I wanted to be achieving, and I couldn't see them anywhere on the timeline as being achievable in the current form that the band was in. And so that was my main reason, is that I wanted to be working at a much higher level, not even as a success or as playing bigger shows, any of that kind of stuff, just as what we were providing as a band. I would prefer that it didn't exist, as opposed to it existing and feeling like we were only achieving, less than 50% of what we wanted to achieve in all of those areas. And I mean that with the products and the kind of live shows that we wanted to be doing, and the kind of, looking towards doing another record. I didn't want to keep going feeling that I couldn't, in that form that it was in. I felt like we couldn't really achieve something greater to the level that I would be doing it. And for me, putting all that work in and then not achieving something artistically at the level that I wanted it to be was just not something I wanted to do. I would prefer it to not exist and to put out something we weren't happy with. So that's kind of going into this. Again, this is, and there are projects on the horizon and things that I'll talk about as they come. And again, you guys will be the first to know. But, I only want to be doing something that is going to be putting work into something that I think is going to really make a difference and be at the level at which I would be happy for it to achieve. And so that's what I'm working on now. That was kind of the long answer to get there. I'm just excited to hear what you've got to share and create new music outside of Agent Frisco and Polyphia. I need some fresh music. Well, I'm hoping to do that too. Certainly, again, I think that the kind of main level of the Patreon will probably be me working on new ideas and kind of bringing you into them, or maybe kind of checking in with you as ideas evolve, so it doesn't kind of get too stagnant or anything. And like I say, I love the idea that maybe, when something is released, that you guys, I remember when that song came out, and you kind of got to see it along the way, and kind of while I'm working on things, I can kind of share bits with you and stems and all this kind of stuff, and it just be this really organic thing where, I can get into a position where I'm not so scared to share things, at a lesser value or lesser production value, and kind of just be this cool exchange between us, and kind of like I say, I can, I'd like to certainly perform tracks in this way. I think that would be really fun, and sometimes just to do music only, and just be like, cool, it's late at night and I just want to make some music and I'm going to stream it, and I like that too. So okay, so how are we going? Is it time to wrap this up? But yeah, thanks. If anyone has any more questions, actually maybe jump in now. But yeah, it's been lovely. Thanks so much to everyone to coming in the chat. And I think I'll schedule the next one for around the afternoon tomorrow. And I'll get something ready tonight and do kind of maybe the first hour. If there's anything you'd like me to do, then obviously check that in as well. I'll kind of keep an eye on the comments. But yeah, I will definitely be doing one tomorrow, hopefully one on Sunday, and then the next one will most likely be around the afternoon on Wednesday, and then hopefully most days, certainly weekdays, I would like to try and do one every day, and kind of keep trying these different content, different ideas, and I'll try and come up with some kind of release schedule as well, I think, and work it out with you guys, and find something that works for everyone, or a good time that kind of seems that most people can, actually be a part of the stream. So yeah, I'm going to get some oil for this squeaky chair. And yeah, thanks so much. Thanks to everyone who's already supported me. Yeah, and like I say, hopefully I can kind of keep building on this, and update the cameras would be great. And I'd like to get another close-up camera, although this does a really great job as well. But I've already got kind of all the screen shares and stuff set up, and that I've tested it to the best of my ability, and everything seems to be really working, and kind of the latency is great. So yeah. Thanks so much for coming and checking it out, and thanks to everyone who's become a Patreon. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much.